So, unless you've been living under a rock for the last few years, you'll probably know that Starfield is a sci-fi RPG game being developed by none other than Bethesda, which is due to be released in September of 2023. And this is after the game has had multiple delays, but this time it feels like it may actually be the final delay, and we will get the game in September. Watch it get delayed again after I've said that now. But anyway, if you've watched my channel before, you know I post a lot of No Man's Sky videos, so even though fundamentally No Man's Sky and Starfield are very different games, that doesn't mean the developers of Starfield can't learn a thing or two from No Man's Sky and hopefully build upon them to make them even better. So let's go ahead and get stuck in. And the first one is fairly obvious. Don't release the game before it's ready, and it seems Bethesda are already taking this on board with the multiple delays of the game, having already pushed their initial target release date back over a year in total. And now you probably know how awful the original release of No Man's Sky was back in 2016. Even though the state of the game is now very good after its many free major updates, Hello Games got totally slated when the game initially released. And Bethesda have actually experienced something similar with the botched launch of Fallout 76, which now appears to be quite popular, so it should be able to learn from both of past mistakes with Starfield. Next up, let's talk about the uniqueness of the planets. Starfield is due to have 1,000 fully explorable planets, and whilst that is nowhere near the amount you can explore in No Man's Sky, it does give Bethesda more opportunity to build on the uniqueness of planets that we see in No Man's Sky. Because of course in that game every single planet is unique in some way or another, be that creatures you can find, the resources you can gather, the plant life, the atmosphere and so on. However, this isn't without its issues, because once you've been playing No Man's Sky for long enough, like myself, any new planet you visit isn't too dissimilar to another planet you've already visited in the past. So, with 1,000 planets to explore rather than 18 quintillion planets, and of course a much larger development team, Bethesda have the opportunity to make each planet even more unique than the last. Starfield needs to make these planets unique from one another to give players encouragement to go and visit them, because if they're all the same, you won't really be asked about visiting another one. That can be done by having rare resources to mine, certain large outposts to plunder, and so on. So, Bethesda have a huge opportunity to make each planet its own unique entity, and like No Man's Sky, I think they should also have planets that are trying to kill you, because it's certainly possible out of 1,000 planets, some of them are going to have toxic atmospheres and potentially very dangerous plants and creatures on there, so we want them to be a challenge as well. And that brings me nicely on to the fact that planets should have different uses for one another, again as encouragement for players to go and visit them. With No Man's Sky, each planet has its own resources that you can mine, unique wildlife and so on, but where they fall short is the lack of unique activities to do, because each planet has a fairly similar amount of activities. And this is where Starfield can build upon that and give players unique tasks to do on each planet, whether that be mining expeditions on planets which are rich in natural resources but so far uninhabited, looting missions on hostile planets that are inhabited by enemies, or even uninhabited planets in the solar system where a colony could be set up. There really are a whole boatload of possibilities, and Bethesda could easily make each of the 1,000 planets have its own main use in some way or another. And as I mentioned earlier, Bethesda's development team is far larger than that of Hello Games' development team, so they should have the capacity to flesh out a bunch of activities on different planets to keep players wanting to explore and discover even more. We already know there are large cities in Starfield, so it's not beyond the realm's possibility to have a bunch of other cities and colonies scattered throughout various systems. They could take a leaf out of No Man's Sky books and give the users customizable exocraft to explore planets on, allow players to map planets from the sky and discover large features like the best locations for building a base and so on. As Starfield is more of an RPG compared to No Man's Sky, it should still grant the players some freedoms to explore each planet and make sure each of them is unique. Each of them has a wide variety of activities to do, and each of them has rare and unique things to discover. And finally, it allows players to have the freedom to explore each planet in its entirety. And the reason being, discovering new things is one of the main attractions to games involving plenty of planets to discover, and Bethesda should, with the size of their development team, be able to have more things to discover in comparison to No Man's Sky. So I'm talking about things like undiscovered ruins, abandoned outposts and cities, derelict freighters and ships, just to name a few. Todd Howard has already come out and said that Starfield has the most handmade assets out of any game they've made before, so I'm expecting great things when it comes to discovering all sorts of weird and wonderful things on different planets' surfaces. So, No Man's Sky will be coming up to its 7-year anniversary in the summer when it was released back in August 2016, but since then the game has been getting continuous updates, with the latest major update releasing as recently as last month. And with Starfield being one of Bethesda's largest and most ambitious games they've ever made, it needs to take on board how successful Hello Games have been at keeping the game fresh and up to date. If Starfield keeps getting updates out and the game keeps progressing and a constant effort is made to improve the game and fix any bugs, then players are far more likely to stick with it for the long term. If you like a game but it has bugs and they don't get fixed, players will eventually move on to something else, so it's important that Bethesda support and improve Starfield in the long run with a wide variety of content updates in the years following its release. And one of, if not the best aspects of No Man's Sky, in my opinion anyway, is base building. It's one of the main aspects of the game where players are constantly sharing their creations with other players in the community, and Starfield should really be no different. It should really allow players to create a vast array of different kind of bases and outposts to give them a sense of ownership over the game's experience. One feature that Starfield looks to be building on is the customization side of things. No Man's Sky customization is okay, but it's nothing outstanding. Currently, players can customize their characters whenever they want, but they can give their starships and multi-tools a variety of technology components to improve them, but that's about as far as it goes. Bethesda are known for having good customization options in their games, and looks like Starfield is going to be no different here. Players can customize their character at the beginning of the game, and it looks like they've also included a pretty in-depth starship customization suite, which is something that No Man's Sky is seriously lacking. So there's one thing that No Man's Sky could actually learn from Starfield, I guess. So one thing lacking from Starfield, at least for now anyway, is multiplayer. I get that the story being single player works well, of course, but there are currently, as of the creation of this video anyway, no plans to include multiplayer at a later date, and I think that's a bit of a shame. No Man's Sky has multiplayer on most platforms except from the Switch, and it's a really nice addition. We can visit other players' bases, go on expeditions together, and just hang out on board the space anomaly. So personally, I think Bethesda are missing a trick if they don't eventually add multiplayer in, even if they were to add it in at a later date as part of an update, which would be cool as well. So even though Starfield and No Man's Sky are very different types of games, there are a few similarities and a few things that Bethesda can learn from No Man's Sky to try and make Starfield the best sci-fi RPG we've seen in a long time. Personally, I really do have high hopes for Starfield, and I will definitely be creating a bunch of videos around it on my channel in the time leading up to its release, and of course once it has been released, hopefully in September. Are you guys going to be getting the game? And if you are, what are you most looking forward to with Starfield? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're still here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.